Vecna's backstory is fake, and Season 5 reveals some huge clues that he's been hiding the true nature of his origins. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers! In this video I'm revealing the truth about how Vecna really got his superpowers and why it's crucial for the final episodes. Obviously, spoilers ahead. In Season 5, Max finds herself imprisoned inside Vecna's memories. As she wanders through his mindscape, at one point she has to flee from the villain, only escaping when she stumbles across a cave that he's too terrified to enter. But why is this space so scary for the spider-loving baddie? For answers, as well as Season 5, we need to turn to the official Stranger Things stage play The First Shadow, which reveals a lot more about Henry's childhood and is canon, as it was co-created by Stranger Things writer Kate Treffy, who closely coordinated with the Duffer Brothers on it. The First Shadow reveals that initially Henry Creel grew up in a small town in Nevada where he discovered some caves. Hidden inside them was stolen equipment from Dr. Brenner's experiments, which Henry accidentally activated, transporting him to an otherworldly location called Dimension X. This is not the Upside Down, rather it's the location that Eleven sent Henry to in Season 4 after he massacred the Hawkins lab test subjects. In that season, Henry described the place as if it was the first time he'd been there, but he'd actually already gone to Dimension X decades earlier as a young boy, at which time he was exposed to a shadowy entity and after 12 hours ended up back home. However, his blood had been transformed and his persona was very different. Young Henry's traumatic experience in that cave is precisely why he can't bring himself to enter it in his memories. A clue in Season 5 that the cave represents Dimension X is the map Max draws for Holly, which marks the cave's location with a red X. Henry's altered blood is the true origin of his psychokinetic powers, which, combined with his changed personality, led to his almost killing another boy. Petrified of their son, the family moved to Hawkins for a fresh start. In Season 4, Henry implies that when he arrived in Hawkins, he was just a misunderstood child who became fascinated by a nest of Black Widow spiders, believing they were gods. And in that season's finale, he also implies heavily that his childhood sketches of a giant spider monster led him to create the actual spider monster, aka the Mind Flayer.
I saw a means to realize my potential, to transcend my human form, to become the predator I was always born to be.
But the truth, as revealed by the First Shadow, is that it was the Mind Flayer monster who took control of Henry when he turned up in Dimension X as a child. And the real reason young Henry was so fascinated by spiders when he arrived in Hawkins was precisely because he was already infected by a giant supernatural spider monster, something which, on some level, he subconsciously sensed, which is why he regarded them as gods, above him, in control of him.
Found a great comfort in them, the kinship.
It wasn't obvious at the time, but Henry was using the word kinship literally, because he has a blood relationship to the spider monster already. As Kate Treffy said in an interview, the version of events seen on screen may not be reliable. We were told what happened to the Creel family by Henry himself. Basically, Henry is an unreliable narrator. I mean, he already lied to Eleven to get her to remove the chip suppressing his powers, but why did he lie to Elle about what happened to him as a child? I suspect it's because the story he tells is actually being told by the Mind Flayer through Henry. So the hidden reason why Henry's house
looks like a fairy tale, a dream,
is because the Mind Flayer is in Henry's mind, warping it and his memories, making them appear how he wants them to be, not how they really are. In a similar way to how Vecna creates the fake reality experienced by his victims like Max and Holly.
Everything which is mine is yours.
And remember what Will says when he taps into Vecna's hive mind.
It's almost like a dream.
It's the Mind Flayer then who's actually the grand villain of Stranger Things, akin to the Emperor in Star Wars, which makes Vecna his Darth Vader. Or as Dustin put it,
Who do we know that wants to take over the world? The Mind Flayer. So if the Demogorgon was just his foot soldier, Vecna's his 5-star general.
and what about this line?
Humans are a unique type of pest, multiplying in poisoning our world, all while enforcing a structure of their own, a deeply unnatural structure.
Doesn't that sound more like an alien who really hates humanity talking rather than an actual human being? Crucially, that means it might be possible for the real human, Henry Creel, to emerge out of the villainous Vecna and reclaim himself from the Mind Flayer, similar to how Anakin Skywalker finally overthrows his Darth Vader persona to defeat the Emperor in Star Wars. In fact, Eleven's words hint at this possibility for Henry.
You don't have to do this. You can still stop this.
So in future episodes, he may well summon the courage to go back into that cave and confront his greatest fear. In fact, not only does the play describe a scene where Henry returns to Dimension X to confront the Mind Flayer, but it also shows how his girlfriend Patty encouraged him to use his powers for good. The first shadow really reveals a much more human side to young Henry as he tried to resist the malevolent influence of the Mind Flayer before ultimately succumbing to the power of the evil entity. We see how the Mind Flayer particles swirl around Henry just before he kills his mother and sister, a detail Henry omitted from the story about the event in season 4. Also in the play, during a confrontation with his mother, Henry tells her, "You can't tell us what to do anymore," the us referring to Henry and the Mind Flayer. This is one moment among many in the play that give me a real feel of demonic possession about his character. It's like The Exorcist meets Venom. There's also a scene where his sister Alice pops up into Henry's attic and asks, "Where's Henry?" When he replies, "He's right here," she tells him, "You're not Henry, you're not him." This is another reason why the Mind Flayer decided to get Henry to kill his sister, as she was beginning to uncover the truth. The play shows how Dr. Brenner is also culpable in sending Henry down this dark path, as he becomes obsessed with harnessing the boy's otherworldly powers to make a connection with the mysterious Dimension X. Dr. Brenner encourages Henry to be more violent, telling him he'll absorb the energy of whatever he kills, and he even wants him to kill Patty, who he sees as Henry's weakness. And the first shadow reveals that just after murdering his mother and sister, Henry went to Hawkins High School, where Patty was performing in a musical that young Joyce was directing. Brenner's also there and encourages Henry to get rid of Patty, and as Henry falls prey again to the Mind Flayer's malignant manipulation, Patty falls from the rafters and appears to die. Unknown to Henry at that time, Patty didn't actually die. She was just injured. Now we know young Joyce is putting on a school production in the second part of season 5, so if Vecna recalls the love Patty showed him, she could well be the key to him turning back to the light. In fact, the theme of the school play is the destructive power of fear, and its central question is, can love defeat fear? Or as Joyce says,
sometimes people need someone to believe in them, and they can do amazing things.
And as Patty tells young Henry in the play, what if the thing you hate about yourself isn't a curse, but a blessing? What if it's not a mistake? What if it's a miracle? There's a real chance now that the final episodes of season 5 will include a redemption arc for Henry, where he turns against the Mind Flayer, the entity that infected him as a youngster, and as the play suggests, whose poisonous influence pushed that young child into many evil acts. So do you think Vecna will redeem himself before Stranger Things finishes? Let me know in the comments below. More season 5 videos are on the way, so tap here to watch the latest one. Thanks for enjoying Stranger Things with me. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers!